Stainless steel litter boxes. Are they a good idea that lives up to the hype, or are they just an expensive piece of cat crap? I'm giving you my honest perspective as not only a cat parent, but a cat expert, including one caution at the end that you should know before you go spend a bunch of money on them. Hello, Poutine. Stainless steel litter boxes have become more common recently as they claim to last longer than plastic litter boxes, be easier to clean, and potentially be better at odor control. The downsides are that they might rust, there aren't as many size options as there are for other types of litter boxes. Cost, they are pretty expensive. And if cats actually will use them, because cats don't just adapt to every type of litter box, they have needs. I normally make my own litter boxes out of storage tubs as they're cheaper than regular boxes, big, and easy to make. Because a certain cat, Prozac, is a high peer, these also work great as I get a high-sided litter box that is still open and isn't a top entry litter box. I found a stainless steel litter box that has really high sides to it that will make sure that Prozac doesn't go over the edge of it, so I decided to order it. And yes, I paid for this myself. If you appreciate this review, there's a link in the description to send Poutine and Prozac some snacks as a thank you. It wasn't cheap. See, not only how well does it work for my own cats, but is it something I would recommend to clients? Here's how I did my test. I set up the new litter box near one of our current litter boxes as a comparison because you usually don't want to swap out an old box for a new one that's totally different until you know that your cats are going to use the new box. I maintained both of my litter boxes as I normally would because it's kind of rude to stop cleaning a litter box in order to force your cat to use a different litter box they may or may not like very much. If they don't like it, ultimately they're the ones using the litter box. We'll just keep the regular ones. As always, I gotta review the box that this came in, and good news, both of my cats approve of the actual box that contained the litter box. It is yet another cardboard box that I'm forced to keep with me forever. I score everything from 0 to 5 catnips, so the box that contained the litter box gets 5 out of 5 catnips. The litter box itself was not as heavy as it looks, so that was a big plus for me because once a litter box gets filled with litter, it can be kind of hard to lift. That makes it more work when it comes time to empty and clean the litter box. The handles on the side of the box that I got made lifting it even easier. The one I bought came with a set of wheels that I could attach if I wanted to the bottom for easy movement, but I didn't feel that was necessary, so I skipped attaching those. Honestly, one of my concerns was that my cats would be jumping into the box or using it and it would whoosh roll away, which one thing you don't want in your home is a runaway litter box. There was some sort of protective oil or something on it that it said to rinse it off before you used it, so I started out by rinsing the litter box immediately upon arrival. It was very easy to get into my shower, and even being heavier than a regular plastic storage tote, it was very easy to lift and maneuver it. More importantly though, would my cats use it? I wiped down the inside, added litter, and did not put either of my cats in the litter box because that is totally unnecessary and could create an aversion to the litter box if your cat associates it with stress. Within 20 minutes, I heard a familiar digging sound and smelled a stinky, stinky, stinky poop. Poutine was the first one to use the new litter box. Yay, Poutine! The new stainless steel box and my old one both became popular spots to take a dump, so neither cat seemed to mind the stainless steel material. I was worried that if their claws rubbed against it, the noise would spook them. Both cats definitely scratched the box as they were burying their waste, but neither had any issue with it. So far, so good, though there was one thing I didn't notice yet, and it was a bit concerning. We'll get back to that in a moment. Scooping was super easy. The clumping litter I use doesn't seem to stick as much to the walls as it does to my plastic boxes, so that was a big plus for me. The litter box I was comparing it to was my older litter box that had been in use for almost a year, so it was hard to compare odor control initially to it because there may have been odor that was trapped in the old box. But it did seem to be somewhat less stinky even after my cats had used the new box for a week or two. One thing that I was really worried about was the handles. I was worried that Prozac, being the high peer that he is, would pee right through the handles. Thankfully, I've been using this box for a couple of months at this point, and I haven't noticed any pee coming through the handles, so thank goodness for that. I decided after I cleaned them for the first time to be very scientific about my test, so I set up the very official, very professional turd log. Each box got a check whenever one of my cats used the box. I'm going to be totally honest that I only tried so hard for this part because I didn't really care that much, and approximated it based off of what I was scooping out. Did it look like it was one pea? Did it look like it was a couple peas combined into one? How many different groupings of poop were there? I really needed to know precisely or observe their behavior directly. I would have used a security camera to record what was going on because cats don't care about privacy. They care more about safety. So they're fine having a camera pointed at them while they poop, unlike most humans. After about 2 weeks of using my box, I decided to get a more accurate comparison of actually washing the box, so I decided it was time to give it a good clean. The stainless steel box was honestly much easier to clean out. When I was scooping, I noticed that the chunks were much easier to remove compared to the plastic, and it took a lot less water and time to give it a good rinse after I'd removed all of the solid waste. I was nervous about using one of the normal enzymatic cleaners I use every couple of months, so I just rinsed it with water the first time. Reading the instructions afterwards, it sounds like I'd be fine using an enzymatic urine cleaner, but be careful with other cleaners as it did mention to avoid using harsh cleaners. My regular litter box, it took a little bit more work to get the clumps off the sides, and even then, it still didn't feel quite as refreshed as the stainless steel box. They both have my regular clumping clay litter, so the difficulty should have been comparable. That said, outside of my litter box in my bathroom, I use a mixture of grass seed litter and clumping clay litter because grass seed litter is a little bit better for the environment, and I find that it's a little bit less dusty. A few weeks later, I did decide to try a mixture of the grass seed litter and clumping clay litter, mostly because I ran out of my usual clumping clay litter and my auto ship was coming the next day, but the details. We're gonna pretend it was just to test it for this video. I found that the grass seed litter doesn't cling to the walls of the box quite as much, and it was honestly even easier to get it off of the stainless steel litter box. The box was a little heavy to lift when I lifted it to dump out the litter with both the grass seed and the clay litter, but it did hold up better than my plastic one, which actually broke a little bit and got a crack as I was lifting it for the test. Not anything that affected the functioning, but I really don't expect that to happen with a much sturdier stainless steel box. Either way, I now had 2 clean litter boxes, so it was time to resume my test. I changed the positioning to see if that affected my cats' usage of the litter boxes, and tallied their usage on my very official score chart for the next few weeks. Both boxes tended to be used equally, and the numbers would alternate between the plastic box being more popular and the stainless steel being the more popular one. When I stopped the test, the original box was slightly more ahead, but that was after a period of the stainless steel box being the more popular one. In other words, my cats didn't prefer the new box just because it was new or cleaner. Now we get to my one word of caution and final rating. This one addresses one of people's biggest concerns about the litter box. So far, they're reasonably easier to clean. They're not so heavy that you can't lift them up, and they do seem reasonably durable. However, there's one potential problem that I haven't talked about yet, and that's rust. When I did my first cleaning, I noticed a few black spots in the corners of the box. I was worried about that being rust, but rust is usually orange, according to the most accurate place for finding this knowledge, the internet. The black spots also came off really easily when rubbed with a cloth. I didn't worry about it too much, but it was on my radar. However, the next time I cleaned the litter box, there was more black spots on there. It didn't come off as easily this time, and when I rubbed it with a white washcloth, it turned a little bit orange. That seemed a little bit more like rust than just discoloration at that point. Fast forward to now in my most recent cleaning, where there definitely was a little bit of orange-ish discoloration and more black spots in different places. They're not everywhere, but they were more noticeable, and they were also a little bit bigger. Yep. There's already a little bit of rust there, it seems. The locations make sense to me though, as they're in the corner where I'm guessing the steel is a little bit weaker and any sort of coating that's on it probably isn't quite as strong. That's also where urine will run down if somebody pees on the wall of the box. So far, the box hasn't completely deteriorated. It does make me question the longevity though. One of the claimed advantages of stainless steel litter boxes is that you don't have to replace them every year or two like you're supposed to with plastic litter boxes. And yes, if you haven't replaced your plastic litter box in a year or two, you should probably go get a new one. Even my cats' water fountains, which are made of stainless steel, don't have any signs of rust after years of use. It could be a problem with this specific box that I got because it's always possible I got something that's slightly defective, or it's possible I nicked it while scraping the edge with my scoop, but my scoop is plastic, so it really shouldn't be doing that. This was a little bit concerning because I paid a lot of money for these boxes. They're not cheap. Keep in mind that depending on the specific box that you get and the quality of the stainless steel that they use, you may run into similar problems. I'd really hope that they'd be a bit more rust resistant. So what is my overall impression? Would I order another stainless steel litter box? Honestly, I really like these litter boxes. I really like them. They have a lot of advantages and they are actually easier to clean compared to regular plastic litter boxes. I did notice that my stainless steel litter box did take a little bit longer to start developing an odor compared to my regular ones. They are a bit heavier, but I was able to dump my litter out without too much of an issue when it came time to fully replace the litter. The ease of cleaning makes them great for people with multiple cats, though you do still need multiple litter boxes for multiple cats, even if it's easier to clean. It isn't just about odor control. If you do a lot of rescue work, are a foster, work at a shelter, or are a veterinarian, I can see these making your life a lot easier because of how much easier they are to clean. Even for average cat parents that don't have quite that many cats, these are a great choice for, I don't know, if you were to bring home a cat for the first time and they bring home butt parasites with them as a welcome home thanks for adopting me gift. Poutine. And you need to clean the litter box to prevent reinfection from said butt parasites more frequently. The rust is worrying. If anyone has any cat-safe rust prevention solutions, I'm open to hearing them. Overall, I'm giving the stainless steel litter boxes 4 out of 5 catnips. The one catnip being knocked off is due to the price and rust. If they didn't rust as quickly, I'd honestly probably give it 5 out of 5 catnips because they really do live up to the hype. But if they don't last that long, they are pretty expensive, so we'll have to see what happens over time. Hopefully with a little bit more time, companies will make these litter boxes with higher quality stainless steel, and it will be easier to pick out which ones are not going to be as likely to rust. I'd actually pay a little bit more for one that would last much longer and didn't rust. If you've made a switch from a plastic litter box to stainless steel one, let me know your thoughts. I'm especially interested in hearing if anyone else has had any issues with them rusting quickly. Most clients and other professionals who've tried them that I've talked to seem to have really liked them, but I've had a few exceptions, so feel free to share your experiences.